Let me receive my good brother and friend, Pastor Jimmy, as he take us through the next session.
So, Pastor have said a whole lot, and I don't intend to waste much of our time. I know that in conferences like this, we get to master, learn, and unlearn a lot in the place of questions. So, I'm just going to read through something that I have here as an introduction. I won't waste much of your time. I promise you, in 30 minutes, I'll be out of here. Luke 19 from verse 12. A nobleman living in a certain province was called away to the distant capital of the empire to be crowned king of his province. Verse 13. Before he left, he called together 10 assistants and gave them each $2,000 to invest, not to spend, while he was gone. But some of his people hated him and sent him their declaration of independence, stating that they had rebelled and would not acknowledge him as their king after receiving the money. Upon his return, he called in the men. But look at this. Before verse 13, before he left, he called together 10 assistants and gave them $2,000 to invest while he was gone. There's a translation that says to do business with while they are gone, and that's my emphasis. We are all going to have to agree, because I also know that people say business is not for everybody. No. Business is for everybody. The dimension of business involvement may not be for everybody. What I mean is the way some of us, what we see as business, doing business is owning a thing. No. Let me demystify that. You can be a civil servant and still be entrepreneurial in nature. Everybody may not own a business. But what we are saying is the mindsets of investing. If you look at the Living Bible translation, it says invest. If you look at the mindset of investing, so what we are investing here is money, is time, is our intellect. That we're not just trying to put money and get it out immediately, but we know that the usage of my gift, my talent, my potential, my time, my resources, everything is a form of investment, and that's business. Because when you invest, it is expected that you get something out of it. And so the transactional procedure that we see there speaks to the fact that business is for everybody. Let's lay down foundation. It's for everybody. We are all transacting. Even when you are under someone's employment, you are still doing business with your talent. Because not everybody will own, as it were. Some will have to follow. Just imagine if everybody is the chief executive officer. Permit me to say, some motivational speaker did a very bad job some years ago. When they started preaching, be your own boss, fire your boss. How many of you heard those stuff? Be your own boss, fire your boss. And people started resigning. People who were meant to be second man, who were going to be successful second man, were resigning to become a miserable first man. Because sometimes you can just be with people and still be successful. Everybody does not have to pull out. So that foundation is very important. We are all called to do business. Maybe not buying and selling, but business. And if we talk about this, there's no how we're also not going to talk about the fact that this exchange answers to principles. Principles. And I love the first session because it dealt more with the places of principles. Business growth, business advancement, financial success. See, certain things answers to prayer and fasting. We will pray and fast and they will happen. Certain things answers to principles. For example, I cannot jump up from this place and decide not to land here. I must obey gravity. The principle of gravity is that what? If anything goes up, it comes down. You now jump up and start praying, Lord, I don't want to come down. You will. Because that action, as long as you are under this terrestrial space, answers to principle. Certain level of growth in business does not answer to fasting and prayer. You have bad customer service, and you are spending 7 days on the mountain. You now came back. They now fire you from the job. You say God did not answer your prayer. No. You're not supposed to direct your energy in that direction. Your energy should be directed in the place of knowing what to do, how to relate with people, principles. So certain things answers to yes, fasting and prayer. Certain things answers to principle. Business growth answers to certain dimension of spiritual stuff. And when I talk about the forces, I'm talking about spiritual forces. Pastor have dealt about that. See, that last point that Pastor talks about, we may not really be able to view it from the natural perspective, because it really may not answer to logic. That why will I just take money that I don't have, go and give it to somebody that already have, and you say I will be blessed that way? It's not logical. But spiritual matters are not supposed to be logical. So those are spiritual forces that must obey. But much more than spiritual forces, there are also physical principles that we must obey for growth. I talk about principles. I said the answer to both spiritual principles and physical principles. I noted here by saying that there are principles for startups. When we are starting business, there are principles that we must obey. The principles that you obey in starting business is not the same principle that you obey for the flow of fund in the business. It's not the same principle that you might have to, keep to for the growth and expansion. There are certain things that I did when we were starting business that they were only useful for the beginning. And I'm not speaking, I trust God to be able to help me see, beyond myself. If you are just starting business, there are certain things that you have to obey. For the growth of the business, you might not necessarily have to do some things that you did when you were starting. The principles might change. When I started business, for example, I felt, it is every business you take, or it is every client that you service. And so we're doing everything to service everybody. But to move to the next dimension, I realized that, listen please, the people in that next level, some of them don't want me to service the people I was servicing before. And they are willing to pay the price of me not servicing those regular people again. So I was in between, am I going to lose these people because I want to step up? Unfortunately, or rather fortunately for me, these other people were also not ready to scale up. So it's important that we know that some of these things will answer majorly to principles. Let me just mention 4 principles before I go to the slide. Number 1, the principle of wealth creation. Pastor have talked about that. So value creation, or which is also wealth creation. I'm not going to talk more about that. You must understand that for us to grow in business and in finance, we must add the principle of value creation. When you create value, money will flow. Let me say that again. When you create value, money will flow. Number 2 is the principle of customer relation and care. You must care genuinely for your customers. You must care genuinely for your customers. I was tempted to share something with you, but I don't want to yet. The principle of networking for more. This is the example I was trying to cite the other time. That if you want to really, you will get to a level, please listen closely, you will get to a level in your business that more that you want, sir, no matter what you're doing, even if it's just a small chemist, a pharmacy, networking. It won't just see, there's a measure of growth that will not come from people walking into your store. There's a measure of growth that will come when people start to say, I know a guy, he can do a bulk supply. See, how many customers want to come in once from such daily stops? You're into catering. It's okay. When you are cooking and you are making your 100,000, your 80,000 in a day, but your food is sweet. but you don't know too many people. But is this someone that came into your shop one day, ate your soup, and be like, wow, this is lovely. Now the person gets to know of a project. Like one project I was with the state government at that time. They were feeding 5,000 young people. They called it a volunteer project. 5,000 people every day for 7 days. They now did it twice in 2 weeks. So for you to feed 5,000, was it 5,000? No. 5,000, but it was 2,005 because the camp could not take 5,000. So it was 2,500 first 2 weeks, another 2,500 second 2 weeks. For that 2,500, they needed 5 caterers to do 500 food, 500 food, 500 food, 500 food, 500 food. That's how many? 2,500. But you would do 500. One caterer would do 500 for breakfast. Times 5 of them, that's 25. 500 for lunch. Times 5. 500 for dinner. And each of the food was valued at that time, I think, around 500 naira per plate. So if you do 500 naira per plate, 500 food, that's how much? Talk to me, sir. 1 million for breakfast from one caterer. That was around 6 million naira for breakfast, 6 million naira for lunch, 6 million naira for dinner for 2 weeks. Now, if you were just one caterer and you got 1 million for breakfast for 2 weeks, 14 days, that's how much? That's 14 million if it was just 1 million. The principle of value creation, which was the first thing I talked about, and that's why sometimes I say it doesn't press. So, permit me to share this. There was somebody that we introduced into that project, but the person didn't have capacity. And Pastor was talking about capacity the other time. So the first food wasn't tasting well, and maybe they delayed. So they gave her a warning. The second day, almost the same thing happened. Then they took the job from her. Watch what happened. It was exactly Luke 19. They took the job from her and gave it to a particular woman who, in the morning, actually, they didn't give her 500. Because they felt she had capacity, they gave her 1,000. So they now collected from this person that we introduced and still gave it to that woman. So that woman was doing 1,500. And she was delivering for 2 weeks. She was now the only one that they did the first 2 weeks and the second 2 weeks for. When she was done, she built a restaurant immediately. And they did that project twice a year. It's some of these things answers to. Now, what would the person who they collected the job from and give, we should, my village people. It's not your village people. It's capacity, value creation. Value creation. So let's just go into the slide straight. So I want to talk about attracting the right clients for your business. And I'm looking at this because I feel that it's going to help us. And I'm going to share some personal experiences here. So let's take it further. Towards an improved productivity. Okay, attracting the right client is for your business is pivotal. Building your business means increasing your client base and subsequently your revenue. If you increase client base, sir, ma, and it does not translate into a revenue increase, it leads to frustration. You will see so many, they call it turnover, in terms of people coming in and going out, people coming in and going out. And we have people that do that. You are a carpenter, people are always giving you job, but you are bad in pricing. And so you walk, people see a lot of furniture walk in front of your shop, but you don't have anything to show for it. It should translate. Finding the right client may take some time and effort. A well laid out and organized approach is always more productive than a short-lived one. If attracting the right client for your business, you will need, number one, to understand yourself and identify your market. So what I did at some point was to tell myself, like that shrewd servant. The Bible says of the shrewd servant, he said to himself, when the boss decided to fire him, he said to himself, number one, I cannot dig and I cannot beg. You must come to terms. Who am I? Where am I cut out to play? What are the things I can do? What are the things I cannot do? You do your own personal SWOT analysis. You don't need an HR person to do that for you. You understand yourself, and based on yourself, you then come to terms with who are the people I'm trying to serve. See, for me, I made up my mind that I was not really ready to serve people who are not ready to pay good money for good job. Because for me, it was going to be about good job. Some people, for them, it's all about like this, cutting corners. And it's okay. They're okay with that. I was not ready to cut corners. And integrity was going to be a big deal for whatever I do. So we're going to do it well. And doing it well means that I was going to invest so much. Now, if I'm investing so much, I need to have the kind of people that are willing and ready to pay good money for the so much that I'm investing. Somebody will buy a bag of rice, pour it inside a bowl, wait for people to come and buy. Someone else will buy a bag of rice, buy nylons, branded nylons, buy sealing machines, seal them, 5 you see the same Congo, 5 Congo. Now take the same sealed packaged rice to Facebook or Instagram and start telling you that this rice is sweet. Not like your regular rice that you meet on the road. And he or she will be willing to also pay money to make it spread the more. The truth is, you can't expect both of them to charge the same price. Because these other person have added certain value to the same rice that somebody just put into the bucket waiting for people to come. So you'd come to terms. For me, I decided that there are certain clients that, see, someone can buy this speaker and want to rent it for business and says, I'm renting 1, 2, 3, 4 for 50,000. And someone else will buy the same speaker 1, 2, 3, 4 and say the kind of people I want to rent this to are people who are willing to pay 250,000 for the same speaker. Guess what? We have people that will pay 50,000 for these speakers, and we have people that will pay 250,000 for these speakers. You identify yourself and you identify your market. Until you do that, you might just be doing so much and have so little. There are people who don't want their cars walked into the regular workshop. They are moved by the fact that the guy who wants to work in their car is wearing an apron and is looking like a professional. Guess what? When you drive your car into Toyota office, it is the same Brother Said that is by the road that Toyota will call to come and fix it. But Brother Said will collect maybe 20,000 to do the car. Toyota will write you, the four of us sit you down, give you coke, write you an invoice of 180,000, and you will pay inside the AC. The same product, but commanding different values. You have to come to terms. Who do I want to serve? By the way, if we have started doing business, growth always comes when we do certain analysis. The same thing happened for a church. I remember very vividly my pastor, when we always go for evangelism, would tell us that we have our brother Jane and our sister Janet. They are not everybody. It is not castigation. My pastor said, for example, he said, I am not trying to have a church where I will need an interpreter. That was him. Some people, I remember there was a woman when those days that we used to sell akara for us, when we have resumed in the office, we take. That woman came to our church because we buy so much from her. So she feels she wants to do us a favor by coming to the church. She came, she could not fit in. I've seen one of my pastor friends, Pastor Babalola, took a member of his church to another church and said, Pastor, I feel that this person will fit well in your church because the kind of things you are teaching, she might not really get it yet. And I don't want to lose her. He personally took her to the next church because he feels it will fit. Identify your market. If you are thinking growth, I'm telling you the truth. I'm not mixing any words for you. Whatever business you, even if you are selling ornaments, if you are selling flowers, there are people who will buy natural flowers for 2,000. There are people who are willing to pay 100,000 for the same natural flowers. You are whatever business you're doing. Identify your market. It is very important. All right, so your goal should be to build a powerful reputation for your impactful service within your niche. Please take note of that word, within your niche. You must create a niche. A niche. If you want to be a high flyer, you cannot sit on the floor. If you want to be an high flyer, you cannot sit on the floor. Whatever service. And I don't mean to say this, but let me put it this way. Not everybody will service top clients. That's the truth. And that does not make you less. Let's also define things properly. I say this for those who are in ministry, that someone is in the thickness of the desert or in the bush and leading people to Christ and does not have keyboard, does not have good sound, does not have all the things we have here, does not make him or her less than us. It's assignment. Yes, you must understand. Because these days we live in a world where people are so moved by the perks of ministry, for example. They are carried away with all the paparazzi that they disparage people who are really doing the work, but they are not known. So within your niche, if you can identify your niche, then you are fine. If you can identify, I got to know of someone who said, he's a big man, and he said, if I'm to start another business now, I'm doing laundry. But I'm not doing regular laundry. Because I know there are people who wash Boba and Shokoto. Not for that time. He said not for 200 naira, but for 1,000. He said those are the kind of people I want to serve. Now, watch this. There's another person that came, a woman came to see me after service 2 weeks ago and said, Pastor, I have issues with my husband. He's not doing anything right now. But I feel he could do so much with laundry. We have a washing machine. We have a space he could use. We have almost everything. But my husband said he cannot start small. He said, oh, my friend now have cars. Some of them have houses. Me, I will now be doing small. I will now be laundry. The other man is a big man. If he says he wants to start that kind of big laundry, he can push in 10 million right there. So if he defines his niche as those people, fine. But you don't have. And you are now saying you want to carve a niche. In that situation, you might not be able to do that. So let's also put this in context so that we don't begin to sound as though we are sounding derogatory. No. There are certain, and that's why you must understand yourself first. Because if you don't understand yourself, people will define things for you and you begin to run with things you're not supposed to run with. Are we together? So let's take it further. I understood that by my nature, the kind of client I wanted to serve are those who prefer top-notch, seamlessly delivered, excellent job. I came to terms to this. We didn't start this way. But as we were moving, I realized that the kind of people, they want top-notch. It's not everybody that wants top-notch service. So if right now the people you are servicing don't want it, just package something for them. But if you are servicing people like this, then you have to also come to terms. But it wasn't just top-notch, excellently delivered. They also want it in a way that is going to be affordable for them. So we need to come to terms and define that. So number one, understand yourself, identify your market. Number two, become an authority and showcase what you've got to offer. Let me say this so that we don't also pray too much. If you don't become an authority, it's hard for people to come in with big resources or big money. Become an authority. Whatever you do, become. Please, like Pastor said when he was going to start, what do you learn from the conference? It's so powerful. If this is the only thing you are taking from my session, please take it. Become an authority. Becoming an authority means you will become a reference point. I set a goal 2 years into our business that when they're counting the first 10 in the country, we wanted to be one of them. Being first 10 in the country means you will have to be one of the authorities, at least in your zone. Whatever, pastoring, become an authority. Business, become whatever. If you're on family issues, maybe God has called you and your family matters, or you are an author, or you are selling provisions. In that place, let them know that that's how you become an authority. Jokingly, myself and my wife, there's a pharmacy we used to go to in Lagos, when we need some stuff. There's no drug that you get to that place you are looking for. They will always have an alternative. We want Fansidar. We don't have Fansidar, but we have one that looks like Fansidar. We want Actifed. We don't have Actifed, but we have one that works like Actifed. They don't always have that drug, but they always have something that looks like it. Why? You are not an authority. If you're an authority, when people are looking for things, when they get to your place, it should be a one-stop shop. They should find it. They should find it. So you become an authority and showcase what you have. If you want to win, I said this earlier, you cannot sit on the sideline. Becoming an authority is a lot of work. It's training, it's investment, it's unlearning, it's learning, it's collaboration, it's networking, it's many things. But become an authority. Sometimes becoming an authority means everything you've known, you have to put it by the side and embrace new technology, embrace new ideas, open up yourself. I'm always open to new things. The moment I got here, I've noticed some things now in my jotter. Pastor, you will see. Glory. Because when you get to a place, your eyes must be open, not just to see what they have not done well. That's what some of us do. We get to a place, you are seeing loopholes, gaps. That's what you're doing. When I get to a place, the first thing I say is, what do they have here that we don't have? What do they have here that we can learn from? And I've noted like two things. That's my concern. That's how we become authority. That's how we grow. That's how we become, not that you are competing or you are comparing. There's a lady we worked for, sometimes between the ending part of last year, and I don't know who recommended us, just started calling. Then I went on our page to look at her. There's nothing on our page. And I was speaking to someone one day, and I mentioned, and the person said, that lady, she's a big girl, you will never see anything on her page. You know what I did? I went to, because I know that it's not possible for her to just start doing that business when she called us. What it meant was she was probably using somebody before. Maybe the person misbehaved, and she came to us. So I went to look at, it was research for me. I went to look for the jobs they've done before. The person that was servicing her before. So I got to know the person who was servicing her before. And I was already planning, okay, these are the kind of fixtures that person is using. I need to add it to my collection, or else she will start complaining after a while. The very week that I made payment to our supplier outside of the country to supply us those kind of fixture was the very week she started into my DM and said, there's this kind of light I expect you to be using. So I now sent her the picture. She said, this one exactly. I said, don't worry. We'll bring it for your next event. The jobs, those fixtures arrived in Nigeria yesterday. Because sometimes we are so, permit me to use the word, full of ourselves, that we don't open up ourselves. And the only way let me also say this, you don't become an authority and stay there. It's always easier to rise. Somehow you might not do much to rise, but you see, staying there is a lot of work. It's a lot of work, particularly if you are in an industry that is capital intensive and you have people that have money. Let's even leave that one. Even ministry. In a world where people are moved by what they see, I've seen young people enter into some churches and say, I can't stay here. Why? Because they don't have AC. Yes. Is that what's supposed to be the baseline? No. But for you to attract certain people, you must have certain things. Period. Their mindset will change when they come in that's what ministry is all about. That it is your soul that is the most important thing to God. Even if your soul is sweating, it's okay. But your soul is the most important thing to God. But some of them will never be able to hear that message if you don't create an environment for them. You must become an authority. Whatever you're doing. And showcase what you've got. That showcase, I know it's difficult for some of us who are church people, but you have to do it. We want to be so humble. It's okay, but we must also make sure that we don't hide the glory. He calls us the light on the hill that cannot be hidden. In other words, you need to showcase your light. All right? And look at this. Don't showcase your weakness. Yeah. Hide your weakness sometimes. It's not fake it till you have it. It is that there are some people, I'm talking to people who are growing now. Some people cannot deal with your weakness at this level. And the moment they spot it, they withdraw from you. So wisdom says, hide your weakness even while you are developing, while you are learning or becoming a better person. Yes. Sincerely. That's why for some of us, I've done, let me cast myself now. Should I? It's okay. Pastor, don't change price for me after today. I've done a business with Pastor before. I want to emphasize this point so that you can get it. That I don't have anything about it. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. And somebody called me based on the fact that they feel I can do it. Track record of company. Say, do you have this thing? I said, yes. Can you supply it? Yes, I can. So how much is it? I gave them cost. Then I called Pastor. Pastor, I need this thing. And Pastor linked me up. Without leaving my house. I made so much money. Don't let me mention the money. So that Pastor will not come for me after today. What am I trying to say? Don't showcase your weakness. Some of us, small thing, I don't have. I don't know it. I don't. Particularly when you are in your growth season. Because the reason they are coming in the first place is because they feel you are knowledgeable about it. A woman called me yesterday and showed me something that they wanted to do and said, do you know someone that can do? She first of all said, can you do this? And trust me, if I know I can do something, I will make you feel that, why are you asking me in the first place? I've heard of all that. It's so small. I make it look miserable, like you are asking me, can I do this? Now. Then she later asked, do you know, she now sent me something, do you know someone else who can do this? I said, I think I have a guy. He said, maybe I will just go with you. Because the guy I've been talking with for the past 2 weeks has not been talking like somebody who knows what he's doing. Don't showcase your weakness. He said, and I was even asking him, what can we use for this? He was saying, I'm a tobacco. I mean, by the time I told the client, tobacco, no, we can't use that. He said, there are better things. These are things that we'll use. And I started, even though I don't do those things, I don't have those things, but I'm knowledgeable about them. And when I'm speaking about it, you will think I have everything stocked in my warehouse. You must be knowledgeable. Don't show your weakness. Don't let people say it. And don't show your weakness. I'm not saying lie. I'm saying arm yourself with enough information so that when people come asking. I grew up understanding some of these things from my mom because, for them, it's always people coming into their store and say, do you have this? They say, we have it. It's in our second shop. You know that idea? There's no second shop. They are just going to collect it somewhere. But they will always make you understand that there is always somewhere to get it from. And the truth is, it's their second shop. It is you that say it's not their second shop. As far as they are concerned, it's their second shop. Don't show your weakness. Be flexible and evolve always. Don't be too rigid. See, innovative idea that will take your business to the next level may not necessarily have to come from you. It might come from your customers. Let me say that again. Innovative ideas that will grow. One of the things I wrote while Pastor was speaking, let me quickly tell you, if I show you now, is that, and I'm sure some of them are watching online, some of our leaders, I just wrote there, I'm going to do a letter to all of them, maybe by tomorrow or next, that if you have the opportunity to extract and add something to our church look and our system process, what will it be? And I know I've given them the right to be very objective with me, and I know they will be. If you are closed, you will be threatened of doing that, even as a pastor. Your leaders should be able to add and remove, really, if you're doing the work together. Your associates, sometimes, when I'm employing for the business, I give the final say. But before you even get to the level of final say, there are two guys in our business that will first of all tell if they can work with you. So you will have internship with them for 3 months. You will work with them, internship or freelance for 3 months. After 3 months, I will call those guys. What do you feel about this person? Can he work with you? Even when it comes to salary, particularly for our freelance guys, because they have been with me for so long that I trust their judgment. I don't think I want to disparage it. And the moment I feel that they are being biased, I call them to order. And they know who they are dealing with. Objectivity is key. So you can't do like this because you like someone. And over time, I've also seen that regardless, so I've seen a situation where someone had an issue with someone yesterday, but when I called him to ask for his review of that person, it was like, wow, when it comes to productivity, he's a good person, even though he had issue with him yesterday. That's not being biased. Now, if you are a boss, if you are the owner of a business and you are not flexible, you will have problem with growth. Because I've seen that sometimes what we need to do to change the face of whatever we are doing is not really with us. It's with people who are seeing us. And if you are so hard, so rigid, that you are not attentive to pick the cues or to hear what they are saying, you won't say it. So whatever form of business, I have some vehicles, and I take them to, but I'm always forgetting about when they are due for servicing. So because when we're in Lagos, where we service, what they do is once you service a car, they'll paste the day you service, the day you are meant to service, based on the number of mileage or something that you've. But this man, so I told him, I said, let's have, this thing between them. The man was trying to give an excuse. He said, the reason that shaking Shembi is because we don't give an excuse. Don't. Some of us, the moment your client is suggesting, the next thing you are trying to quickly cook up an excuse of why you are not doing what they are saying. It's not difficult. Just read it and he said, maybe we don't know how. We're not even saying months. We are saying the distance covered, because normally it should be about the distance covered. After this also distance is covered, you are meant to service them. He said that maybe you should buy one exercise book. So I will buy exercise book for 4 cars. And I will now be one exercise book in this car because I can't be mean. Oh God, calm down now. Be flexible. That may not be what you do in your company, but the solution might come from the customer, from their suggestion, from their feedback. And we are open to them. That's how we grow and evolve. By the way, it is when you are flexible that you are evolving. When you are rigid, you can hardly evolve. You always stay in the same place. So what's the next thing here? Be flexible. I don't want to go too much into this. It's going to take our time, but just if you can zoom in on your camera, just snap this. For you to be productive, there must be clarity of purpose and duty. You start from the base. Then you map out strategy. Allot targets and deadlines. Execution. You see that pointer? It's very important. Execution. Execution is just the discipline of getting things done. Whatever you do, ministry, business, whatever business you do, if you don't execute, you cannot grow. Daily. You are in the educational sector, whatever, if you don't execute. Let me also say this. Let me add this to it. If you are so knowledgeable that you know everything in this world and you don't execute, you cannot grow. Growth is premised on execution. Some people are walking encyclopedia. They know a lot. Ask them this, they are giving you answers. I know some brothers like that. They speak so fluently. If you hear the English in their mouth, you will think they spent the first 30 years of their life in the United Kingdom. So rich in Igbo like this. But that's the only thing they have to show. With all their English, they are still begging for money. With all their knowledge, they are still taxing people. Execution is the next level to growth. Even if you don't know so much, let me say this. Even if you don't know so much, but you see that little that you know, you're always executing about it. So execution is key. Very important. It's the premise for which we grow. If you are somebody who there's a book called Execution. You look for that book and read it. I've bought that book. I've bought more than 20 copies of that book, and I've bought it more than 6 times. When I buy it, I give. By the time I bought it for all my staffs in the office, I bought like 9 copies. Execution. All of them. The discipline of getting things done. If you eat that book and you follow through, you cannot be at the base in whatever you do. I guarantee. You cannot be at the base. Execution. It will show you how to get things done. See, let me put it this way. Don't aim for growth. Aim for execution. If you aim for execution, growth will be a byproduct. Growth will be a result of you executing. And that's why I'm scared of people who just pray the blessing. Because instead of praying the blessing, how about you pray that God give you ideas? And you then walk the idea. When you walk idea, blessing is a byproduct. Execution. Thank you.